Good evening and welcome to this program. It is What's Your Story? My name is Catherine Mwangi. Thank you so much for watching tonight. We are at the residence of Australia's High Commissioner to Kenya, His Excellency Luke Williams. Now, you'll remember last week we shared his story. This week, it's the first time we're going to be hearing the story of a diplomat's wife, in this case, Miss Helen Williams. And part 2 of this show will be about their relationship. They've been married 29 years. So for now, we're here at the residence, so let's take this show on the road. Oh, hello.
Catherine.
Yes.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Welcome
sir.
back.
Thank you. And this Bellissima. Huh?
Helen.
Lovely to meet you.
And you.
Thank you
and
for
you.
coming.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, look at
So
you.
do you.
No, I really do.
Thank
yeah.
you.
So, did you watch your husband's show last week?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Liked it?
Yes.
So you've granted us, an open door
Yes.
to your story, and I'm really looking forward to it because it's our first time on this show to be having a conversation with a high-ranking diplomat's wife, and then after that, your love. Oh,
Yes. No. Well, we're looking forward to that,
Yeah.
and we're going to share some tips too
Oh.
about how we've managed to stay together.
I love it.
For this
I love-
long.
You look good together already. I'm feeling the juice, eh? So shall we then?
Yes,
Indeed.
welcome,
Welcome.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey.
Madam Helen Williams, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Catherine. It's so much of a pleasure for me.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. You have a beautiful home.
Oh, we're so lucky.
And you look amazing.
Asante sana. So do you?
Oh, you want us to speak Swahili now?
No.
Okay, so can I first start with the shoe story? It's important.
Yes.
Tell me where you find beaded heels.
This is my problem, Catherine.
Okay.
This is my problem. So these shoes are from Melbourne,
Oh.
and I bought them a while ago.
Okay.
And I love them.
Yeah.
And as you can see, they've got a heel. And so I can wear them for formal functions. And in Kenya, when I arrived,
Yeah.
it was my mission to find another Kenyan beaded shoe
Yeah.
with a heel.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find one. Couldn't find one because they're all flats, they're all
Yes.
sandals.
Yes.
So
Uh.
I have just succeeded in my project by making my own shoes with the Kenyan beading,
Right.
with the help of a fantastic company
Yes.
that already make the sandals. And so they just then custom made me
Yes.
a little part to put on the front
Yes.
of some Bata shoes.
Bata,
Bata.
the local brand.
Uh-huh. Yes,
And what you're wearing, African?
it is.
Yeah.
But this is a nod to both Australia and Kenya.
Okay.
So if you look at the print on the dress,
Yeah.
in Australia, the First Nations people, our Indigenous people,
Yes.
do what's called dot painting. So it's
Oh.
very, very famous. They do a very specific style of painting
Okay.
using dots.
Uh-huh.
So I saw this kitenge on Biashara Street, and I knew it was the one. I knew it was the one because then it covers both. It's a nod to our Indigenous Australians, and also it's a kitenge for our Kenyan friends.
Love it. Love it. I know. We'll get to the deep stuff, okay? We have to talk about the fashion, right? We have to talk about the fashion because it's also one of your passions, eh?
Yes.
So fashion jewelry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
You look
So,
amazing.
Thank you. So we love promoting all parts of Africa.
Yes.
That's every part. So I have been shopping.
Yeah.
And I have a fantastic Kenyan dressmaker who came this morning. She came this morning and we design things together and have a lot of fun together.
Wow.
Or I come up with an idea and
Yeah.
say, can you make it?
Yeah.
And she says, let's have a try. And sometimes it works. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So you design your clothes.
Well,
more-
we just have fun together. That's the thing.
Love
So we've done a few things.
Love it. So you're the first, conversation we are having with the wife of a diplomat, and not just a diplomat, but the highest ranking High Commissioner's wife. So this is really such a privilege for us, eh? So when we see diplomats, just high up there, unreachable, inaccessible, and now speaking to their wives, and you being the first one, so yeah, no pressure. So when we assume that, what do diplomats' wives do? What is their role? So yes, we know you support your husband, you take care of the children, you take care of the home. Of course, it's a relationship you have. And by the way, you have to know, the High Commissioner will be joining her in part 2 of this show because, again, love, hey? Love relationships, married 29 years. So could you paint for us a picture of the going ins and outs of a diplomat's wife?
Thank you for that question. So I want to demystify a couple of
Yes.
things for you. We're very busy,
Yeah.
and it can be a male partner or a female partner. So
Yes.
now there's a good balance. And for me, I choose to be a very hands-on partner. Some people don't, they have their own careers, but I want to.
Yes.
And it's my pleasure to support
Yeah.
my husband. And so that means in a lot of different aspects. So for example, we will do work trips together. So we've been blessed. We've gone into some of the counties in Kenya.
Nice.
So we went to Machakos County
Yeah.
and Kajiado County on a work trip, to the coast for work. And then I've also accompanied him on work trips to some of the countries of accreditation.
Yeah.
So I've been incredibly fortunate for that. Then I have a wonderful team here
Yeah.
at the residence who are invaluable to me. And so they help me put together functions. So I'm very busy on the work side of it.
Yes.
And the representational side.
Yeah.
But then there's the fun side. And so posting has allowed me to absolutely indulge my loves of different things.
Okay.
It's allowed me to be a volunteer.
Oh.
And so this is very close to my heart. And so I spend some time working with some of the NGOs here. And it's also allowed me to then have a little bit of a shop and
Okay.
a little bit of looking around,
Yes.
seeing what's out there,
Yeah.
and having fun.
Yes.
Which
And
is fantastic.
I like that you brought up the, volunteering with NGOs here, because that has always been, even
Yes.
way before your husband met you, you were heavily involved with aid and development. What was your childhood like?
Catherine, I had an idyllic childhood.
Oh.
So I was born in a rural village in Sussex in the
Okay.
UK, right at the bottom, south. And I had an idyllic childhood, is how I would say. But funny thing there, like my husband, I had absolutely no intention. I was a very shy child.
You?
Yes, of ever going overseas. That was the furthest thing from my mind.
Okay.
So when growing up, it's very, local in a little village. And my life has led a very different course.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very different to my friends.
Oh.
I'm the only one who left to go overseas to perhaps lead this very exotic, interesting life. So I'm very lucky.
Yes.
And I do know this.
You know that. So your first overseas trip was here in Africa?
So at university, I was absolutely convinced I wanted to be a volunteer. So I've never been motivated by money at all. I'm a humanitarian by nature.
Yeah.
I studied humanities,
Yes.
surprisingly, at Bristol. And so I went to work at an orphanage in Bangladesh. And when I came back to the UK, I said to my mum, I want to go to Africa. And so I went again, and I went to Khartoum as a teacher, and I taught in Khartoum. And I fell in love with Africa. I just thought, this is just amazing. So I went back to the UK, and I was blessed in joining the Overseas Development Administration, which is the aid wing of the British government. And I worked on the Mozambique and SADC desk. So I loved this. And an opportunity came up to go and work in Windhoek for a maternity leave cover for 6 months. And I got it. So I had this wonderful experience in Windhoek. And then I was cross-posted to Lilongwe in Malawi. So I started in Malawi. Loved Malawi. This is the warm heart of Africa.
Oh.
Oh, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And in Malawi, because things were changing in South Africa,
Right.
we were told you have to move down to South Africa. And I did not want to go. I did not want to go because of the apartheid regime.
Right.
I was very anti-South Africa, and but I had to for work. So I was the first Mzungu, the first white person, to go down to establish the office for my colleagues who were
Yes.
coming out from the UK.
Yeah.
So we went down. 6 weeks after I arrived, guess who I met?
The love of your life.
I did, and I did not expect this.
So maybe that's why the universe was leading you to South Africa.
Exactly.
6 weeks after you arrived.
Yes. So, once I met Luke, I had to swap hats from Africa to Australia. So but I think that then we've come full circle, as you said earlier, with the
Last
previous
week.
interview.
Yeah.
Exactly. That it's very funny how your paths lead you back.
Yeah.
And our paths led us back to Africa.
So moving from the UK to Bangladesh, because that's like almost night and day, so to speak. I have
It
no
was.
better phraseology for that. And you're a young girl that time, and you're excited, I'm thinking, because then you're going to help people there.
Exactly.
And then you land there, and what do you find?
This is fabulous that you asked this question. So I met a fellow volunteer at Heathrow, so we hadn't met before.
Yeah.
We fly together into Dakar, and there were floods. So as you know, because Bangladesh is so low, that most of the country is 40 metres above sea level or less. So when we came into the Bay of Bengal and over, it's just one big mass of water. And we think, well, where are we going to land? But there is a tiny bit of raised land for the runway, so we landed. Then we got out, and the airport is a sea of different coloured faces, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we were the novelty, and everybody's looking at us. And I think this is a really good life lesson
Yeah.
for how it feels for other people. So it taught us a lot. It taught us a lot of how it suddenly feels to be different.
Yeah.
Because we were the novelty.
Yes.
So it was hard. And a lot of what we did was hard, as you can imagine, because these are orphan children.
Yes.
And so it's,
Yeah.
it's quite heartbreaking.
And you didn't decide, I mean, you still decided this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. And then you land in Africa, Sudan, and you felt at home. So when it comes to, like just wanting to help people, so let's, join it to what you're doing here with the women NGOs that support women, empower women. So you landed here and you still wanted to do that.
Absolutely.
How did you find these organizations?
So I was very, very lucky. I met Wangu Kanja from the Wangu Kanja Foundation quickly, and this was in a time of COVID, Catherine, which meant it was really very hard for us to meet anyone because of the rules and regulations, and we couldn't meet too many people.
Yeah.
But I met Wangu, and Wangu then introduced me to the Maisha Safe House for girls, and they're sadly survivors of sexual-based violence. So I've been assisting Wangu and the Maisha Safe House in that space, and we've done some donation drives. We're going to take in a Australian gender equity advisor in to go and see Maisha so she can see on the ground how it is. So that is a fantastic part of what I've been involved with. But there's a few more NGOs.
Okay. Yeah.
So we did a work trip, as I said earlier, to Kajiado County, and we visited a school down there. And the rural schools, as you know, are quite confronting. And we met with a fantastic lady, Sumerian, who runs Patineo Sim. And when we saw the school, it has no library books. That's no library books. So these children, really are very, very disadvantaged. If we recognise the importance of education, but they have nothing, no tools, this is very difficult. So I organised some books to come in, and we did a presentation for Sumerian here at the residence. And then I've had an ongoing relationship, and we've got funding for a school garden at a different school that I also visited. And this school has a very energetic principal, very energetic. And we knew, okay, if we find funding, we're going to set up a school garden, which we've done.
Oh, wow.
And so the seeds are all planted. It's amazing. So this is going to then hopefully teach the children about growing and nutrition and vegetables, indigenous green leafy vegetables, some really important things. So very excited about this project. And then I have to mention, can I go on?
Yeah, of course.
It was my pleasure to meet Elizabeth from Ghetto Classics quite early, maybe after about 9 months of the posting.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth said, would I like to be a mentor for the older students at Ghetto Classics? So I've been very lucky to meet some of the older students, and we've had some mentoring sessions. And then we've supported Elizabeth as much as we can with promoting Ghetto Classics.
Yeah.
And so we want to have them. We've already had them perform at the residence for an Australia Day function. So we want to have them back for another function.
Oh, wow. Damn, you're busy.
I'm a busy lady.
So you mentioned gardening.
Oh, I love gardening.
Tell me about it.
I love gardening.
Okay.
I'm so happy you asked this question. If we had time, I would show you my garden.
Oh, we have time.
Ooh. So,
You grow your own food, eh?
we grow a lot here, of course.
Yeah.
And my thing is with this, it's so easy because the Kenyan soil is fantastic. And so we just have a go. Catherine, that's all we do. So we plant. If it grows, this is great. But I have got a lot of projects where I support an urban garden in Korogosho.
Oh.
And so we grow seedlings and then I take them to the urban garden. And so I'm growing, gifting, growing, gifting, growing, gifting. So at any one stage in my garden, I've got up to 50 little seedlings all ready to go. And so whoever comes, whoever is interested, I will say, what would you like?
I mean, you should answer that to me. I'm interested.
Yes? Good. Good. This is fantastic.
Well, I try to
Yes.
garden.
Good.
Yeah. I
Oh.
try like balcony
Shamba?
gardening.
Good.
Yeah. So like
Oh.
little pots.
Herbs?
And then herbs, yes.
Yes,
And then I
good.
forget to water them.
Oh, no.
And then some die.
Oh.
But
So
anyway,
what herbs have you got?
rosemary, oregano,
Good.
strawberries,
Good.
tomatoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's space for more.
There
is
of
space for more.
course. Yeah, but don't give them to me in seedling form. Just make sure they're a little
Big.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done this humanitarian work, and it was never about money for you, but just helping people, and you've done that in quite a number of countries here in Africa. And then you met your husband, High Commissioner Luke, and what line did he use to woo you?
He told me he had a passion for Africa,
Ooh.
and I was hooked. Because nobody had ever said this to me.
you.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so this was like, oh my goodness, you're a fellow lover of Africa, but this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all it took.
That's all it took.
I need to change my game. I need to stop being complex. and look at you two now, 29 years.
I know.
Yeah, together. We'll come to your relationship, but let me first, So any time that your husband, because then you said to me, by the time his posting was done in South Africa, now you had to move with him to Australia. What was that like?
Scary. Of course. But I want to just take you back.
Yeah, sure.
Because neighbours, you mentioned neighbours.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. And I watched that as a teenager.
Right?
In the UK.
Uh-huh.
And my image of Australians is they're all very laid back.
Yeah.
Good looking.
Good looking.
They're all on
I'm
the
glad you said
beach.
it.
It's wonderful weather. What's not to like? And so when Luke said, "Do you want to go back to the UK with constant drizzle, or do you want to move to Australia,
Sunny Australia.
sunny?"
Yeah.
Of course, it's a no-brainer.
New-
Of course.
Uh-huh.
But as he said, it was a shock because I didn't realise it was so cold.
Right.
And so when we arrived, I wasn't suitably dressed. I didn't take any warm clothes.
Oh.
Because I thought it was warm. Of course. So I was in for a big shock.
Yeah. Were you angry?
No.
You're just like shocked and what is
Yes.
this? Yeah.
I went shopping, of course, to buy some appropriate clothes, of
yeah.
course.
Yeah. So was Australia everything that neighbors, showed us?
It was different to my expectations.
Right.
But I think that Luke is also quite different.
Mm-hmm.
So we always joked because he's quite a serious Australian.
Yeah?
He's not a larrikin sort of, no, exactly. So he broke down that mould as well. He did. And a lot of the foreign affairs staff are quite serious and professional, as you would expect. So I was quite different.
Yeah. But your neighbors were. Your neighbors were
Yes.
Australian.
Yes,
Who were
absolutely.
Australian, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So anytime he has to be posted overseas, and you have to pack up the house, pack up the kids, find new schools, and
Yes.
the whole settling and making sure the kids are comfortable. What is that? What is that like? What is that move like? Actually, I've always wondered what that is like.
I would say go for it. Go
Yeah?
for it, Catherine. Honestly, at the point of just embracing opportunities, don't be scared of risk. So you imagine if I'd never accepted Luke's proposal with, "Oh, I'm scared of moving and I haven't been to Australia," and all of that entailed,
Yeah.
my life would have been very different.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Yeah.
And so we've always embraced opportunities, which meant it's a risk and it's scary, but we've thoroughly enjoyed it. It is hard work, to answer your question.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared for that. But I'm not work shy.
No.
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 So I think then what I'm hearing from you is, what do you call it? Perspective.
Yes.
So like just how you see things. So if you decide to like see it as, oh, this is a challenge, or we're moving again, then it poses that for you. That's what you harvest.
Yes.
But if you look at it with excitement and
Yes.
sense of adventure,
Yes.
then it's a little bit easier,
I agree.
right?
Yes.
I've captured it.
Yes.
Okay. So, we're going to be talking about your love relationship, right? The moment we've
Yes.
all been waiting for has come. It's here. What was it about him that made you know, like, you know what, I could actually live with this guy for the rest of my life?
He's very good husband material.
Oh.
Very good. You just know your antennae's out and you
Yeah.
just know
Ah.
good husband material.
Right.
Don't let this one go.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
I like that. So you're ready for that conversation with him, eh?
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
No, you're not. But we're going to have to do that after this commercial break. So you do not want to miss this, especially if you're dating and you're not too sure, or you're married and you're wondering, am I spending the rest of my life with this guy or with this girl? It works both ways, okay, to be fair. Or you just want to hear a good love story after the break.
I wasn't used to being courted and being spotted.
Right.
So this was very nice. So Luke was onto a good thing here. So he took me to a couple of nice restaurants in Johannesburg and in Pretoria.
Right.
And he wined and dined me.
Money well spent.
Yeah.
Money, oh, I like that. Money well spent. Welcome back. It's What's Your Story here on KTN Home. Glad that you are still watching. So you remember last week we had a conversation with the High Commissioner of Australia to Kenya, His Excellency Luke Williams, who now joins his gorgeous wife, Miss Helen Williams. Sir, you're welcome again.
Thank you, Catherine. This is a real treat.
For me especially, eh? Because
Oh, two beautiful women. but one more beautiful. Sorry.
Of course, it's fine. It's fine. I get it. I get it. So we have all established that this spark was created and blown up in South Africa. So you saw this girl and you just said love for Africa. But the one thing that, I really like about your story also is your first posting was in South Africa. You had a passion for Africa from, early 20s, and that's what you also studied in university. And you were already in Africa, and you were not happy to be going to South Africa. And somehow, 6 weeks after you landed, you met him. And how long was it for you, sir, when you landed and met her?
That was 17 months.
7, 8 months.
17.
17 months.
I've been in South Africa for
a year
17
and a half.
months. Yes.
Yeah. So you were there before she got there.
Yes.
So I know how you. Well, I don't know how you met actually. So how'd you meet? It was at a function, you said?
So we met at the British Embassy bar first. We were going for a pre-dinner drink, some Australian Embassy colleagues and some British Embassy colleagues, and Helen had been invited along by some British Embassy colleagues. So we went to the bar for a drink before going on to a restaurant, a Portuguese restaurant in Pretoria. And myself and one of my embassy colleagues were just sitting there at the bar, and then this person, Helen, came up to us and said, "Hi, I'm Helen. You must be the Australians," because she heard our accent. So it was that "Hi, I'm Helen" that caught my eye or my ear as well.
Yeah.
And we were then later on seated next to each other at the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I actually, at the time, was also chatting up the waitress at the restaurant. And so that was making Helen quite jealous, as she later told me. And so that was a good tactic. And and we just met each other at different functions thereafter over the coming weeks.
Yeah.
And it just seemed to naturally come together.
Yeah.
And I immediately saw in Helen this spark of life, someone who was incredibly warm,
Yes.
outgoing, and who excited me,
Yes,
And
yes.
so it was just one of those relationships that wasn't obvious at first, because as Helen has mentioned, we're quite opposite as personalities.
Yes.
But I think that's where the complementary part of the relationship quickly was apparent to us both, that we were good for each other.
Yes.
She was good at bringing me out of my shell, because I'm naturally shy and ironically awkward in social situations, so I have to do my job, but it's not natural to me. I've had to learn it. And whereas Helen is naturally gregarious, and naturally more adventurous than me, and sometimes she would say maybe too adventurous. So I sort of bring a bit of caution to the relationship as well.
So Helen, what was courtship like for you?
Fabulous. So, as a volunteer, I didn't have much money.
Yeah.
And I wasn't used to being courted and being spoilt.
Right.
And so this was very nice. So Luke was onto a good thing here. So he took me to a couple of nice restaurants in Johannesburg and in Pretoria.
Right.
And he wined and dined me.
Money well spent.
Yeah.
I like that. Money well spent. So when did you know that she is the one? Because ultimately, it's the guy who decides. I know. There are women who are bold enough to make the proposal. I know that. But in your case, that wasn't your case.
No, we're talking the 1990s, early 1990s, and it was still in Australian culture at least,
Yeah.
the man who did the proposing.
Yes.
And I remember at the airport in Johannesburg, when we were saying our goodbyes, Helen became very tearful. And so I immediately knew that she felt very serious about the relationship. And in many ways I'd already decided that in going back to Australia
Yeah.
for Christmas and New Year's, I needed to do some thinking about the longer term commitment that was sort of unfolding before me, because my posting would be coming to an end,
Yeah.
and I'd seen in other examples of relationships that have been formed at the post where it had all become very ugly because someone wasn't prepared to make the commitment beyond the end of the posting. So I realised if this was serious going forward, I needed to do something about it well before the end of the posting. And so I did that thinking and came back very much knowing
Yeah.
I was going to propose, and it was then a matter of when that would be. And that time came in early February when we went to Mozambique.
Okay. And then Mozambique happened.
I
So
know.
you thought you're just going for holiday, right?
I knew.
Yeah?
I knew.
You knew he was going to
Yes.
propose? How?
I just sensed it, and so I told my mum. I phoned my mum in the UK, and I said, he's going to propose. Wow. And so my mum was expecting the call, and I called her a bit late because we were staying with some friends who were working in Mozambique, in Maputo. And we called a bit late, and she was worried. She was worried that I had got it wrong.
So how do you know? Was he giving signs or he was? Yeah? Like he was more loving or what?
I think we'd had a couple of conversations where he'd said, would I be prepared to go to Australia? And so I kind of knew the subtext to what was going on.
Oh, wow.
And I said, yes, I'd be very happy to move to Australia.
Yeah.
But that also meant that I had to resign from the British government. And so there was some, things that obviously that entailed in terms of me perhaps stopping my career
Yes.
and perhaps stopping then me working in Africa. So obviously I did
Yes.
think about
Yeah.
the implications.
Yes.
When
And
you-
what was
Yeah.
the proposal like?
So he kept me waiting, Catherine. So I'll just set the scene, okay? So we're at dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm on tender hooks thinking, okay, he's going to ask.
Right.
And he waited to the last moment, just before Johnny Clegg came on to play. And we didn't know that Johnny Clegg was playing that night. We didn't know. So we're at dinner, and because we'd both seen Johnny Clegg play in South Africa and we really liked his
Yeah.
music, this was just heaven sent.
Oh.
Was heaven sent. It was
Yeah.
perfect for us.
Yeah.
And they played our song. And so he waited to the last moment just before the band came on, and I thought, he's not going to ask. I've got it wrong. He's not going to ask. And he popped the question. It's like, thank God. And I think I said, thank God you've asked.
Really?
I was very nervous.
You were?
Yes.
Why?
Just thinking, how was I going to ask? So, but anyway, I got the courage up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you did.
Yes.
And she said yes. She said
Yes,
thank
she was
God.
very relieved. Thank God. Thank God you asked.
When we met the second time, Your Excellency, and he said, Helen and I, the way he speaks, let me try to imitate that. Helen and I are inseparable. So he said that. And you're like, whoa, okay, we want to have that conversation, which is beautiful because we all know what's happening in the world of relationships and marriages, etc. But how have you handled the guns part of the, this is just me trying to be, synonymous with your whole eclectic taste in music. But have you managed, or how do you avoid the guns? so to speak? How do you avoid it? Is it even possible?
I don't think it is possible, to be
Yeah?
honest. No,
Yeah?
I don't think it is. I think we've got very good open communication.
I like that.
Very good.
Yeah.
And so it's just this absolute level of honesty, which means, you know, saying when things are not good, being
Yeah.
very honest about it,
Yeah.
and then working through things together.
Yeah.
But in some of the ups and downs, when we've had difficult issues outside, we stick together.
And we enjoy each other's company. That's important. I actually enjoy coming home. And at the end of each day of work, home is where I want to be because that's where Helen is. And actually our dog here too, Binti. Because we find solace in each other. We enjoy unwinding, talking about the day, and trying to empathise with each other.
Your Excellency, what's your wife's love language?
Helen's approach, she's a naturally effervescent person.
Okay.
And so, you know, we actually tell each other all the time we love each other. And I think Helen also appreciates flowers, all those traditional things. Back in South Africa when I was wooing her, I used to buy her flowers every single day. I don't do that now because actually the garden is full of flowers here in Nairobi. But it's in terms of us just doing things together, surprises for each other. That's always and thoughtful surprises.
Okay.
That you've listened to what their latest interest or activity is, and so you've made the effort to think about doing something or giving something that relates to that, because that means we're listening to each other. And for Helen, I think that's important, that listening and empathising. So I think that's the love language. I like all of them.
Yeah? Yeah. And what's your husband's, Helen, love language?
I knew you were going to ask that. I knew you were. Now I'm in deep trouble. He's a very calm influence, so he's very non-demanding. So he's not like me, he's not high needs.
Okay.
I'm happy to chill out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Your husband is, you know, this is his last posting. And he could choose to continue working, but he doesn't want to. He's decided that this is it. Are you looking forward to the next phase, and what is that next phase?
Good question. So I have mixed feelings because I don't want to leave, of course.
Oh.
Of course, I'm sad, of course. But it's the right thing.
Yeah.
It's the right time. Luke's worked for many years. He deserves a rest. He does. And so, of course, I'll support him in that.
Yeah.
But for me, I still have a lot of energy and passion and a lot to give. And so I think that I will just reroute that into something in Australia.
Yeah.
I will.
Okay. And for you, sir, what are you looking forward to, you know, doing? Maybe not doing. You said you're good chilling. So what are your chill plans? What are your chill plans?
Well, there are lots of things I want to do.
Okay.
There's still some travel
Okay.
we want to do together. Some countries we haven't been to before. So we've got those plans. And we want to do it while we're still relatively young, in the sense of not being too old that we're not able to endure the rigours of international travel.
Yeah.
You've mentioned, you know, we've discussed the love of reading. There's so many books I want to read. We want to go and do much more in the cultural space. We'll have the freedom. I would love to go to the Sydney Opera House to see a performance. We've never done that.
Okay.
And so things like that we can pursue. I've got also the music. I want to play more. I want to listen more. And again, more time with each other. That's attractive to me. We can do more sporting activity, keeping fit. So we're not going to be looking for things to do.
Yeah.
There's so much to do.
Yeah, I like that. Helen, what are some of your family traditions?
Oh, we're very silly, Catherine. We're very silly.
Jokesters.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We do. So we do like practical jokes. We do.
Okay, really?
Yes.
Like pranks and stuff?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And so I have a very lively sense of humour. Very lively. And my children, the same. So we bring Luke out of his shell. We do.
So are both of your children, do they take after your personality?
Hamish, our son, is sensible like his father,
Okay.
but he has his mother's sense of humour.
Okay.
And Siobhan, our daughter, is just delightful. So she has her mum's empathy. She does, absolutely, totally.
Yeah.
But she's got her head screwed on like her father.
Okay. So both of you, eh?
Yes.
So they have your, personalities, eh?
Yes.
Okay, so for couples watching, or for would-be couples, because most people spend forever courting and dating and not getting to that point that His Excellency got to where he decided to, I'm going back to South Africa and I'm going to commit to this relationship. So a lot of people play there where they're indecisive. So two prongs. So I'll start with Your Excellency, speaking to the men who are there in that space. How do they get to that point of decision making? Some even ask, I like how you described him before he joined you, where he said, he was good husband material. I like that. So how do the men know and be sure? How can they be assured of that this girl you've been dating for a year, 2 years? Some even have already started to, create families. They have children, but they've never made that commitment. So those are the ones I wanted to speak to. And I want you to speak to the women in relationships as well who are tired. So you're with the right person. You know that, but you get to a point where you're exhausted and you've lost the spark and you don't know how to bring that back, or you're expecting your partner to be the one to bring it back. Because you're tired, maybe you carry resentment. So those are the ones you're going to be speaking to. So we'll start with you, Your Excellency.
So for the men, I was at a point when deciding about whether to marry or not, to either choose to pursue what I would call the more selfish route and put my own sole interests first, or to choose the route to compromise and realise that in any relationship, compromise is the key, and it's not only just about you, it's about the other person. And so I think that's the key to it. And you're, in my book, never going to have a relationship in which you can have everything your own way. It's a two-way relationship, and that requires you absolutely to not put yourself first. And I think that's the key then to knowing and committing to a longer term relationship, which is what marriage is all about.
I love it. I love it. Wow. Yeah. Miss Helen, to the women.
So can I just say for the men first?
Yes, of course.
If you like it, put a ring on it.
Oh, please say it looking there, direct. Don't look at me.
If you like it, put a ring on it, because I think it's very important to, you know how you were saying people were indecisive.
Yes.
To actually look out for your partner and potential children. So there is this responsibility, and I would point to that. And then for the ladies to have boundaries and know your own worth. And so don't compromise and don't put up with anything. That's what I would say. Don't put up with poor behaviour.
Yeah.
The first sign of any impropriety, that's it. It's a deal breaker.
Right?
It's a deal breaker.
Okay.
Yep.
And for those unable to leave, so
Yes.
you know this is my man, but I'm so
Yes.
sick and tired of him.
Yes.
It's not my story, by the way. I'm putting it. It's coming from a deep place, but it's not. And I'm so sick and tired of this man. But I love him and I don't want to leave, but I want him to change or whatever. So there's women, we find ourselves mixed in all of that, mixed emotions and feelings. And what do you say to them?
This is hard because if you have enough funding, and I know that for Kenyans perhaps that's an issue, I would suggest a counsellor, honestly. I would to perhaps bring people together so that you can work through some issues, because it is hard at times, it is, and that for ladies, if they're setting boundaries but there are children involved, and maybe their financial position is precarious and it's difficult to leave, I do get that, but I also think that things can be worked through. They can.
Yes.
But sometimes you need perhaps assistance to bring people together, to put different sides of what's really going on.
Wow. Happy 30th anniversary, belated. I just met you, so I know it happened in February, but I just love this conversation you've had here. Very solid, very sober conversation to both men and women, and you know, thank you for just opening that window for us to see what it's been like for you. And my take home is, if you like it, put a ring on it. What you said, like, stop wasting time. And create again, it's not my story. And create boundaries.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, don't allow disrespect.
Non-negotiables.
Yes. And from Your Excellency, what I get is just like, get committed and stop being selfish. There's somebody there. There's a whole human being there. So I really love that, and I thank you once again for just opening your home and your lives to us in the way that you have. It really is our privilege to have been here today. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you,
Catherine.
sir. Thank you. And to you watching, I will switch to Swahili. Mumepata mawaidha. That is Australian for you have received wisdom. It's okay. It's Swahili, not Australian. We say goodbye now. It's been a wonderful, 2 episodes just having a conversation with Australia's High Commissioner to Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and PAM Rep to UN Habitat, UNEP, ESC. It's a lot of work. And he is, as you have heard now, a devoted husband to Miss Helen. Husband material, she said. And obviously talking to his wife in this week's episode, Miss Helen Williams. You know what? Just go to YouTube, catch this show again, because there's gems there, especially this last part that would help your relationship, because, hey, we all need help one time or the other, right? Thanks for watching tonight. We're here at the residence of this beautiful couple. And until next week, tune in for another inspiring episode. This one repeats this weekend, I think, or next weekend. But yeah, there's a repeat. So tune in for that as well. Till then, ciao. God bless you.